Alrighty, hi folks, I am Becky with Enduring Finances. Welcome to my channel. Today we're taking a look at one of my annual breakdowns where I'm going to take a look and walk you through all of the side hustle and additional income sources that I earned from last year, 2023. Now in total I earned income sources from 11 different things that you could potentially do your own. Some of them not so much, some of them maybe. And I want to just go ahead and break them down for you just on a numbers level so you can get a look at the financial side behind it, how much you might make an hour doing the same thing. And then I have other videos, and I'm going to be making more videos that break down each one of these different side hustles, hopefully in a way that you could understand it on a deeper level and answer any questions that you might have about what that process looks like. I've already done Lime Scooters and donating plasma. I'm looking at doing videos on Rover, DoorDash, and Uber Eats as well. And then of course you can follow along as I break down my stock dividend account every single month and my investing returns. So enough about all of that. Let's jump into what these 11 sources of additional income that I made last year. Alright, so taking a look, you can see in alphabetical order, we have dog sitting, we have donating plasma, we have doing DoorDash, lime juicing scooters, my part-time job where I make pizza dough in the mornings, Rover, boarding dogs, Rover walking dogs and doing home visits, my savings account interest, which is something that everyone should do, high yield savings account, stock dividends, stock swing trades, and Uber Eats. So those are 11 in total. Let's go ahead and take a look, see how the income from each one of these sources played out for the year. So you can definitely see I made the most money from my part-time job, making $18,114.25. From donating plasma, I made $5,305. From juicing lime scooters, I made $1,935.15. From doing Rover walks and house visits, I earned $1,708.60. From investing in stocks that provide dividends every single month or quarter, I earned $1,219.35. From doing dog sitting here at my home outside of any app or any other service, I earned $1,375. From boarding dogs through Rover at my house, I earned $1,841.60. From doing a little bit of DoorDash and Uber Eats, I made $494.43 and $312.69 from each of those respectively. I earned $35.74 from my high yield savings account. And then from the little bit I did dabbling in stock swing trades, I made $5.36, bringing a total pay from all of these 11 sources to $32,347.17. But numbers aren't everything without taking a look at the time that is spent investing in those. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. We spent the most time working my part-time job, coming in at 1,226 hours. Donating plasma, we spent 131 hours. Doing Rover, we spent $112 hours just doing walks and visits. 69 hours juicing, 53 hours boarding dogs, 43 almost hours dog sitting, 18 hours door dashing, 17 hours doing Uber Eats, 12 hours spent on stock dividends, 2 hours spent on stock trades, and then an hour, if even that, on my high yield savings account. My total worked hours to 1,684. And then I go ahead and break it down between active income sources and passive income sources, because last year I had a killer passive income source where I was renting a portion of my property for someone to store their RV, and I was getting paid monthly for essentially doing absolutely nothing. The only two that I'm really considering passive income are my stock dividend account and my checking and savings account interest that I'm earning from that, because I really don't have to do anything to maintain those, and I will continue to earn money off of it. And then all the other income sources are active, which means I have to be doing the work in order to make the money. So that's how that works. Let's go ahead and jump into how this impacts hourly. So how much money are we making from each one of these jobs for how many hours I put in total. We can see that the highest one is going to be for my stock dividends, 12 hours, coming in with an average of $101.61. Now this pay is going to be before any expenses and before any taxes, and we're going to take it step by step through the very end. So if you're only interested in that, feel free to jump to the very end where I just do my break overview of everything. But right now, stock dividends is my best average hourly income. Donated plasma is coming in second at $40.65. My savings account is coming in close to that, followed very closely by Rover Boarding for $34.81 an hour. All the way down 32.02 an hour dog sitting, $28.02 doing lime juicing, $27.40 an hour door dashing, $18.28 doing Uber Eats, and then Rover doing walks and visits. This is going to be a lot less than the boarding, I should say, coming in at $15.19 an hour. I did get a pay raise in the middle of the year from a part-time job, so we jumped up from $14 to $15 an hour, so on average that comes out to $14.78 an hour. And then stock swing trades, we did not come in very good, coming in at $2.68, meaning my total average hourly income between all of these from $100 to $2 is $34.86 on average between all of them. You can't just look at a side hustle and a job without taking in and factoring in the different expenses that you're going to incur. Luckily, most of the expenses that is going to come with these jobs is going to come from wear and tear on my vehicle and gas, and maybe a little bit of like poop bags for walking dogs and cleaning and all of those things. So not a lot of big expenses are going to come out from these side hustles. There are other side hustles that you could do that have more expenses that come into that is going to impact how much money you're going to make from it. But taxes also play a certain role in that, because you get to write off certain expenses that you do pay, and the government pays and has a standard set mileage reimbursement rate that a company would pay you if you were using your vehicle for the company. But that's where it kind of breaks into if you're working as a self-employed independent contractor doing side hustles, which is the majority of these, versus working as a standard traditional employee. So there's a lot of moving factors with these. But aside from doing my part-time dough job, everything else is independent contractor status, except for my investments. They're off on their own. So I'm going to take and eat all of the expenses that we're doing on that, and I will get taxes back from that. But this is just a breakdown what you could be potentially looking at. So let's jump into the different expenses that you are going to incur from these, and just a baseline for that. So with expenses, we're going to see that stock dividends is pretty much the same. Same with the investing account and my part-time job and stock swing trades. All four of these are done passively without any expenses really for me that I can claim or write off or anything like that. So their pay, the gross pay does not change from anything. As far as donating plasma, I'm able to track my mileage that I'm doing for each one of these side hustles. I have a notebook that I track which job, which side hustle I'm doing, and my starting and ending mileage, and then I track my mileage throughout the year. This is what you will need to do for you to claim mileage expenses when you write your taxes. You have to have a track of how many miles you're doing for each one of these, and most of these apps like Uber Eats and DoorDash are going to track your mileage anyways and submit, and you can request that information and submit it directly to the IRS through that. But I like to keep a copy for my own personal sake and my own personal tracking, so I highly recommend that you do that, or talk to a certified public accountant or someone professional in that area on best practices for you. So we drove 266 miles doing plasma, 322.4 miles doing Rover boarding, 211 miles and 0.2 of a mile doing dog sitting. There's some back and forth in that. Lime juicing, we did 761 miles. We drove 266 miles doing DoorDash, 282 miles doing Uber Eats, and then 1,049 miles doing Rover walks and visits, for a total mileage driven of 3,157.8 miles between gas and wear and tear. And I track this on how much gas is costing me at the moment, plus 2 cents a mile, 2 or 3 cents a mile for wear and tear and just maintenance on my vehicle. So that's how I track it personally. So between all of those down, we spent $724.46 on gas and wear and tear for my truck that I use for all of these, seeing our gross pay drop from $32,000 to $31,617.35, and our average hourly gross also went down because of that. But I know I've kind of mentioned So that's going to be taking into account your expenses, but I want to take a look at how taxes are going to impact this as well, because I am working a part-time job where I am an employee, and so I'm taxed differently when I'm an employee versus when I'm doing a side hustle independent contractor, as I've kind of talked about. So to do a blanket statement across the board, I am a single individual filing my taxes in Idaho. So we're going to have a 0.58% state tax. We're going to have federal taxes. We're going to have Social Security and Medicare taxes. And because I made less than $44,725, which is the cutoff for federal taxes to go up in the next higher bracket, we're going to do a blanket tax rate of 12% federal, 5.8% state, and then of course the standard total 15.3% for Social Security and Medicare, except for my part-time job. I think one of the biggest things that we have to keep in mind as we look at as the taxes, because those are going to impact this directly, is the investing side of what you can make money through. And as far as capital gains and dividends and high yield savings interest that you earn, those are not taxed through Social Security and Medicare. So you don't have to pay taxes on those, and that's set out by the government itself. And then dividends that you earn are taxed two different ways. They fall into ordinary dividends and qualifying dividends. And ordinary dividends are taxed with federal and state taxes, but qualifying dividends are tax special, and essentially you don't know any tax on them. If you make less than a certain amount of money, there's tax, there's a whole thing. But this year, over 70% of all of my dividends that I earned, the $1,200 plus, 70% of that is not taxable because they are qualified dividends, which means I've made a lot of money without having to pay taxes on it through this one avenue. But let's jump into a total tax breakdown for all of these side hustles so you can see visually what I'm talking about. So first off, we'll take a look-see at my part-time job. We gross pay $18,000. We had to pay Social Security, federal, and state. Now, luckily, because this is a employee position, my company is matching more than half of my taxes as far as Social Security and Medicaid. So that is going to be lower than if I was an independent contractor doing this job. But in total, we paid just under $2,000 in taxes for that. For donating plasma, we're up over $17,000. Notice how there's a huge difference between the pay that I made part-time job and my donating plasma between taxes, and the primarily amount of that is going to be because of my Social Security and Medicare, and my having an employer pay part of your taxes is really beneficial. Just keep that in mind. As far as river boarding, we ended up paying in reason $591, for lime juicing $579, for rover walks and visits close to $500, for dog sitting $443.50, for DoorDash we owed $146, for Uber Eats just over $85. For stock dividends, we can see where we have that big breakdown now. No Social Security, no Medicare. We have another breakdown here between the two because it comes in my the forms that I get from my brokerage account, breaks down which ones are ordinary and which ones are qualified dividends. And so we ended up only owing $63.53 in total taxes for my dividends from the $1,219 that I earned. So that is absolutely phenomenal there. We ended up owing $6.43 from taxes for my savings account, and then 96 cents in taxes for my stocks trades. So in total, we ended up owing $6,142.78. Now keep in mind, this is all estimations, not 100% accurate, just because of everything coming in, and taxes will be lower based off of what expenses you can write off, but this is just a blanket statement. But let's go ahead and combine all this information and take a look at the pay overview from all of these jobs. So this is where it kind of gets in. So we have pay before expenses, your average hourly before expenses, your gross pay, so taking into account your expenses and how that impacts your hourly pay, and then taking into account your taxes and all of your expenses is your net pay at the very end. So we watched my stock dividends go down from $101 an hour to $48.16 an hour. So cut essentially in half with that. Still making a really good amount of money for the amount of time that I put into that. As far as savings, we jumped down to $29.31 an hour. Donated plasma, we were sitting at $40.65 an hour. Pardon my dog. After everything, we are up to $26.59 an hour. For boarding dogs through Rover, we are now down to $20.40 an hour. For dog sitting, we're looking at $20.69 an hour. For lime juicing, we are down to $16.80 an hour. For DoorDash, we're looking at $16.31 an hour. And the big one that comes in is my part-time job, where I was making $14.78 on average an hour. We are down to $13.15 an hour. And then Uber Eats is down to below $10 an hour. Same with Rover walks and visits. We're coming in at $8.90. And then stock swing trades coming in at $2.20, bringing my average down to $21.23 an hour. This really shows a lot, just because I think it's, pardon my dog. I think it's a really important thing to take into account, like how this impacted money that I'm making and time that I'm spending, because I spent the most amount of time we saw earlier doing my part-time job, but I'm making less money doing that than I could be doing other avenues. And so just because you can get a part-time job does not mean it's going to be the best financial choice for you. I took it originally because I wanted the stability from having a structured job, just because the economy was going through whatever it was going through. But now the schedule is impacting my life in a way that doesn't fit my schedule, and I could make more money per hour doing other side hustles and be just fine. So that's kind of impacting how I'm looking at my future for the next year and in the future. What is the best value for my time, and what can I do what can be the best for me with the time that I have to give and fits my schedule and the flexibility that I want. Hopefully this kind of opened your eyes at what you're looking at as far as different jobs and different gigs and side hustles that you could potentially be doing, and how much money you could be making an hour from them after everything is factored in. The biggest one that I have to say is donating plasma. Yeah, there's a limit on how much you can do it, but I mean $26.60 an hour after the fact is a phenomenal side hustle that you can do. An hour to 2 hours, 3 hours a week is tops for that, and you can make a lot of money doing that. I made over $5,000. And then just having dogs come in and stay at your home when you're already home, you make $22 an hour on average for the amount of time that you're going to spend with them. So 100%, there's some great ways for you to make some additional income doing these. Like I said, I'll be doing more videos, and you can look at other videos I've done breaking down these side hustles a little bit more. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out directly to me. I have Instagram, Facebook. You can send me an email at enduringfinances@gmail.com, or you can just leave a comment down below, and I will try my best to answer it and make another video if that helps the most. Hopefully this next year is also just as good. The only thing I want to remind you at the very end of this is, one, I'm not a tax expert, so don't take this as like 100% bulletproof. And two, if you're making a significant amount of money as an independent contractor doing side hustles, you should really consider paying estimated quarterly payments of your taxes to the IRS beforehand, so that you don't come to the end of the year and owe $6,000 plus to that. So highly recommend, if you're doing this and you're doing it a lot, that you talk to a tax professional and get that set up best for you. And I hope that you guys are able to make some money on the side, and helps you through the world that we live in and all the craziness and tight budgets that we all are feeling. So it's going to end it for me. I will have this posted on my website if you want to see it in a more visual way. Feel free to check it out. Until next time, guys. Bye.